Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn our new chapter, that is stereoisomerism. Stereoisomers are the isomers which are having different arrangement of atoms or groups in a space. So what is stereoisomers? Stereoisomers definition I am telling. Please listen carefully. The isomers which are having different arrangement of atoms are groups in a space. The isomers which are having different arrangement of atoms or groups in a space are called stereoisomers, and this phenomenon is known as stereoisomerism. This phenomenon is known as stereoisomerism. Let us take one example. You will understand in a better way. So I am taking lactic acid as an example. This thick line represents this OH group is pointing towards the board, and dotted line representing hydrogen is backside of the board. This is called lactic acid. If you take the mirror image of this one, if you take these two isomers, these are isomers, means same molecular formula it has. The molecule looks like same, molecular formula is same, but bond connectivity is also same. Structural arrangement of atoms is also same. But what is different here? Difference is in the arrangement of atoms in the space. This OH is pointing towards the board and hydrogen is pointing upwards the board. If you see this molecule and this molecule, they are two mirror images to each other. This is pointing, OH is towards right side and ikkada OH is towards left side. So these two are mirror images to each other, and these two are called the stereoisomers. And we can also take another example to cis-2-butene. Cis-2-butene, this is like this. CH3, CH3, H. Cis-2-butene is written like this. See, but means four carbons. 1, 2, 3, 4. And double bond is at the second carbon. So 2-butene. And this arrangement is the methyl groups are arranged on the same side of the double bond. So this is represented as cis-2-butene. And a trans-2-butene. C double bond C, CH3, CH3, H. This is called the trans-2-butene isomer. If you compare these two, molecular formula is same and bond connectivity is also same. But what is different? The methyl groups. The methyl groups here on the same side of the double bond. Here the methyl groups are on the opposite side of the double bond. Only that makes the difference here. And these two are called the cis-trans isomers or geometrical isomers. So stereoisomers are classified into geometrical isomers and optical isomers. These two are called geometrical isomers. These two are called optical isomers. Today in this class we will study briefly about the optical isomers and what is the criteria to show optical activity. Okay, Understanding, students? So first one is a stereoisomers definition. So what is stereoisomer? Same molecular formula but different in the arrangement of atoms in a space. So three-dimensional space, if you arrange the molecules, they will appear differently. And the bond, remember, the structural arrangement is same. In structural isomers, the structural arrangement of atoms is different, but in the stereoisomers, structural arrangement of the atoms is same, molecular formula is same, but different arrangement of atoms in space, that orientation of atoms in the space are different. So let us go into detail what is optical isomers and optical isomerism. Optical isomerism. Before going to learn this optical isomerism, you have to learn some key terminology, that is chiral center. Chiral center. Chiral center, or this can also be called as a asymmetric center. Whenever you come across this term, this is nothing but the chiral center, asymmetric center, or it can also be called as stereogenic center. So chiral center is called as asymmetric center or stereogenic center. All these are same. So what is the definition for this one? What is the definition? A sp3 carbon atom. This I have already told you in the first semester. Remember, an sp3 carbon atom having 4 different groups attached to it. If different groups attached to it, this is called as a chiral carbon. It is called, what is that? Chiral carbon. Chiral carbon is an sp3 carbon atom. sp3 hybridization is tetrahedral. So to the carbon, the tetrahedral arrangement of groups are different. So as already told in example, lactic acid. And now let us take another example, that is glyceraldehyde. Glyceraldehyde. This is called as a glyceraldehyde. This carbon is attached to 4 different groups. This is called as a chiral carbon. If a molecule possesses this chiral carbon, then that molecule is said to be optically active. So it shows optical activity when chiral carbon is present in it. So chiral carbon, and if you take the mirror image of this one, how it will have? See, this is a mirror image. Mirror image of this one. If you try to superimpose on this molecule, if you try to superimpose on this molecule, it is not superimposable. It is not superimposable. So, two non-superimposable mirror images are called as, what is the definition? Enantiomers. So, enantiomers are also called as a stereoisomers, which are non-superimposable mirror images. Enantiomers. Stereoisomers having non-superimposable mirror images are called enantiomers. And this is the chiral carbon. So chiral carbon is the carbon in an sp3 carbon in which 4 different groups are attached to it. This is called chiral carbon, and the molecule showing chiral carbon is called chiral molecule. So chirality. So let us learn another new term, chirality. Chirality, it is the property of a chiral molecule. Chirality is the property of a chiral molecule. So chirality is a necessary and sufficient condition for the showing optical activity. Chirality is property of chiral molecule. Chiral molecule. That means it should contain, chirality means it should contain two non-superimposable mirror images. Let us take our two hands. They are non-superimposable to each other, and these two are mirror images. So right hand and left hand, if you take these two, right and left, these two are non-superimposable mirror images. If you take, this is not the superimposable criteria. It is a three-dimensional phenomena. In that, superimposability means if you take the two hands in one single plane, it should look like as one hand. It is not like this. Okay, here if you see, this one is different and this one is different. So this is not the superimposability. Superimposability can be seen in three-dimensional way. So chirality is a sufficient condition for the showing optical activity. So it is a property of a chiral molecule, and a chiral molecule means it should possess one chiral center in it. Chiral center is an sp3 carbon atom having 4 different groups attached to it. Okay, so let us take what is optical activity. Optical activity, that means interaction with the light. Optical activity is the interaction of the light with the organic molecule. So optical activity is measured by, it is measured by using an instrument called polarimeter. So polarimeter is an instrument which measures the optical activity in a molecule. So what is the principle involved in this polarimeters? So we have to learn. So when a light source, let us imagine a bulb, a sodium bulb. So when light source is passed through a small slit, so it is passing, light is passing through one small hole. So light has oscillations in all different planes because light is an electromagnetic wave. So it oscillates in different planes in a space. So it has all planes, it has different planes oscillated in a different planes. So it is called as an ordinary light. When this ordinary light is passed through a Nichols prism, this is called a polarizer. What is that? Polarizer. This is Nichols prism. So when this Nichols prism, in this you will have a slit like this. One slit will be there. Okay, I'm showing with a one line. It is a polarizer. What is the function of this polarizer is, it converts this ordinary light into plain polarized light. Plain polarized light. What is this plain polarized light? Plain polarized light, in short, we call it as PPL. So plain polarized light. Plain polarized light is a light which oscillates only in one plane. So here the oscillation of the light is taken in different planes. All different directions light is oscillated, and here the light is oscillated in only one plane. So this is called a plane polarized light. So we want plane polarized light to study the optical activity in a organic molecule. We do not want the ordinary light. So we have to put the polarizer in the polarimeter. So polarizer, what is the function of this polarizer? It converts the ordinary light into plane polarized light. Plane polarized, what is the difference between ordinary light and plane polarized light? Ordinary light has oscillations are, it scatters the light in all different directions in a plane. But here the oscillations of light is taken in only single plane. Okay, so that is a difference. So monochromatic light is different. Monochromatic light means light is having only single wavelength. That is monochromatic light. Single wavelength if light has only single wavelength. For example, sodium lamp. Sodium lamp has wavelength 589 nanometers. That is a monochromatic light. But plane polarized light, single wavelength, but it may have oscillations in all different planes. Okay, but plane polarized light is a light having only direction of oscillations only in one single plane. When this plane polarized light is passed through a organic substance, what happens when it interacts with the plane polarized light? That is the principle involved in the polarimeter tube. So let us study. So when ordinary light passes, through a Nichols prism, that is polarizer. When it passes through a Nichols prism, it converts the ordinary light into plane polarized light. When this plane polarized light is passed through a sample tube containing organic solution, organic substance solution. When it passes through a compound containing organic substance, it interacts with the plane polarized light, and we will have three cases. First one, the plane polarized light does not show any deflection. So if we pass the plane polarized light in this direction, it is coming as it is like this. So that means this substance is not interacting with the light, that is plane polarized light. Then when this substance is called as a optically inactive substance. If this substance in the sample tube interacts with the plane polarized light and turns the plane polarized light in a clockwise direction, that is right, then this molecule is said to be optically active. And you may have, when the sample is interacting with the plane polarized light, if this plane polarized light is turned in a anti-clockwise direction, that is towards left, then this molecule is said to be optically active. So consider this is a case 1A, B, C. So we may have the possibilities of all these three, depending upon the nature of the substance what we have put in this sample tube. So when this plane polarized light is passed through a solution containing organic molecule, so what happens? It may not interact with the plane polarized light. Then that molecule is said to be optically inactive. If the substance rotates the plane polarized light in a clockwise direction, then that molecule is said to be dextrorotatory molecule. And if the molecule turns the plane polarized light towards left, then that molecule is said to be levorotatory molecule. And it is represented as small d, and this may be represented as plus, and levorotatory molecules are represented as small l and minus sign. Okay, so just remember, just listen to the carefully. When this plane polarized light is interacting with the sample solution, we may have three conditions. First condition, it may not interact with the plane polarized light. It may come as it is. That is optical inactive. That means it is not showing any interaction with the light. If plane polarized light is turned towards in a clockwise direction, then that molecule is optically active and dextrorotatory. And if the plane polarized light is turned towards left side, that is anti-clockwise direction, then that molecule is optically active and levorotatory. Okay. Plus symbol indicate this alpha is the angular rotation. What is that alpha is called? Angular rotation. So how much angle it is rotated in a sample tube. This is the main principle involved in the polarimeter. So by knowing the alpha value, we can know the specific rotation of the sample. So it depends on the, so on which factors this alpha value depends. Let us see, this optical rotation depends on the, so many factors involved are in this one. So first factor is the nature of the substance taken. Angle of rotation value depends on nature of the substance taken. Nature of the substance taken. That means in the sample tube, if you take lactic acid, it will show some angle, it will interact with the light, and it may rotate the plane polarized light with some angle. And if you take the tartaric acid, it may show different alpha value. So it depends on the nature of the substance what you have taken in the sample tube. And it also depends on the length of the polarimeter tube. Length of the polarimeter tube, that is sample tube. So usually we will take this length as 1 decimeter tube, that is 1 decimeter is equal to 10 centimeters. So 10 centimeter sample tube length we are taking. So this, if you change the length of the tube, that alpha value also changes. And it also depends on the temperature of the solution. If you put the cold solution in the sample tube, it will have alpha value different, and if you take the hot solution in the sample tube, the alpha value may different. So it depends on the temperature of the solution also, and it also depends on the concentration of the solution. Concentration usually taken in grams per ml. How many grams are dissolved in ml? So concentration, if you change the concentration of the solution, alpha value changes. And it also depends on the wavelength of the light used. So usually in the polarimeter, we are taking sodium lamp. Sodium lamp has lambda value 589.3 nanometers. Remember, 1 nanometer is equal to 10 to the power of minus 9 meters. So we are projecting a light source having wavelength 589 nanometers in the polarimeter tube, and we are taking the length of the solution polarimeter tube to be 1 decimeter. So if you change any one of these values, the alpha, that angle of rotation, changes. And now we'll go into another one, that is specific rotation of a molecule. What is the specific rotation? Specific rotation. Specific rotation. definition. How will you define this specific rotation? Specific rotation. It is the rotation of a compound. Rotation of a compound when plane polarized light is passed through a solution. Is passed through a 1 decimeter solution. That means the solution is kept in 1 decimeter sample tube length in a solution having concentration. That concentration is also specified here. Concentration of 1 gram per ml. Means if 1 gram should be dissolved in 1 ml. So like that. So 1 gram per ml and at temperature 20 degrees centigrade. So at 20 degrees centigrade with the concentration of 1 gram per ml in a sample tube length 1 decimeter. So what is the angle? What is the rotation? That is called the specific rotation of the compound. That is represented as alpha square brackets. At temperature is written here and lambda value is taken here. Lambda is usually 589.3 nanometers. Here we'll take sodium light and temperature is 20 degrees centigrade. It is equal to angle of rotation of length of the tube into concentration. So alpha is the angle of rotation. Alpha is called angle of rotation and L is the length of tube and C is concentration of the solution. So this is specific rotation. In your exam, they may ask problems regarding this specific rotation. They'll give the angle of rotation and what is the length of the tube and they'll give the concentration. They may ask you to find out the specific rotation. So listen, what is specific rotation? They may give in different but always the concentration should be converted to gram per ml. They may give in kgs, so you have to convert that kgs into grams. They may give in kg per liter, like that, to confuse you. Okay, this is the specific rotation. We'll go for optical activity. So we are measuring the optical activity with the help of polarimeter tube. So what are these optical isomers? So optical isomers are the stereo isomers. Optical isomers means definition. These are stereo isomers. Stereo isomers which are different, which are having different value of alpha. Different value of alpha, that is different angle of rotation. Different value of alpha means different angle of rotation. So these are the stereo isomers which are having different value of alpha. So if you take lactic acid, CH3, COOH, OH, H. And if you take the mirror image of this one, H, OH, CH3, COOH. So these two are optically active because it possesses one chiral center in it. Okay, these two are optically active. And see, if let us take this is A and this one is B. If A rotates the plane polarizing light to right side, if A rotates, let us consider, if A rotates the plane polarizing light towards right side with an alpha plus x degrees, x may be any value, 20, 30, 50, like that. Okay, so if x is x degrees, it rotates the plane polarized light. That mirror image value, that should be rotated to the x degrees only, but in anti-clockwise direction. So when alpha value is plus x degrees with the A and B also x only. So these two are called enantiomers. Enantiomers can also be defined as a non-superimposable mirror images, and they rotates the plane polarized light with equal angle but in opposite direction. With the same extent of rotation, they may rotate the plane polarized light with same extent but in opposite direction. See, here this is rotating to right side. If it is rotated and mirror image, that mirror image is rotated to the left side. So enantiomers can be defined as a stereoisomers which are having non-superimposable mirror image, and they rotate the plane polarized light to the same extent but in different directions. Direction is different, but the angle of rotation is same. So that much you have to remember. Angle of rotation is same, but the direction of the rotation is different. If one molecule rotates to the right, then that mirror image should rotates to the left one. These two are also called as optical isomers. So optical isomers are the isomers which are having the different value of alpha. Here plus x, it is minus x. Okay, and diastereomers are the stereoisomers which are non-superimposable, not mirror images, and they may have the, they may or may not have the angle of rotation. See, diastereomers, if you consider A and B are diastereomers, it is having plus x degrees, it may have plus y degrees. So they may rotate the plane polarized light to the same direction, but the angle of rotation is different. It is rotating to the x degrees and it is rotating to the y degrees. And they may have, it is having plus x degrees, they may have minus y degrees. It is rotating in an opposite direction and the angle of rotation is also different. If that molecules are called as a diastereomers. So diastereomers are non-superimposable, not mirror images. They may rotate the plane polarized light to the same side or to the opposite side, or they may rotate the plane polarized light in a different direction. That is the difference between enantiomers and diastereomers. Remember, these enantiomers, diastereomers, both are optical isomers. So let us stop today's children. Okay, we will learn in next class. We will learn RS nomenclature and how to find the stereoisomers in a given set of molecules and what is the criteria for the optical activity. I hope you understand the class today and prepare the notes well and study. Also study the textbook also. Thank you.